Hi guys, it's Aoife from Fred VC Died Laughing and I am here with another weekly wrap up. So it was thrillerathon this week and I got loads of thrillers read and I enjoyed most of them and I can't wait to tell you all about them. So the first book I read was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is the second book by Lucy Foley I've read. She also has a book called The Hunting Party, which I read a couple of years ago and I quite enjoyed that. And The Guest List follows a similar type of group of people like The Hunting Party, which basically means that they're all despicable. So basically we are following a group of people who are going to a wedding on this island off the coast of Ireland, and we're following the bride and groom who are Julia and Will. We're following Hannah, who is kind of her husband is Julia's best friend. We are following Julia's sister, and then we are also seeing some POVs from Will the groom's best friend, and we are seeing some of the people that he went to school with because he went to kind of an elite boarding school in England. At the very start of this book we know there has been a body found at some point in the wedding, and then we reverse back and we are getting, I think it's the day before the wedding, from Julia's point of view, and we know that she has been left a note basically telling her not to marry Will, that he is not the man that she thinks he is, and she's kind of freaking out about this and wondering what the hell is going on. And from that point we are switching back and forth from loads of different POVs, and we're also following the POV of the wedding planner, whose name is Aoife, which I quite enjoyed, and we are seeing kind of from her point of view as an outsider what all these people are like. I really enjoyed this mostly for the fact that Lucy Foley is just really able to create a group of people who are just all horrible in their own right. They're all privileged, stuck up, preppy white boys basically, or majority of them are white boys, but that kind of type of person, bumbling private school boy who thinks that, you know, is still reliving, even though they're in their 30s, are still reliving the glory of their school days because it's like the best time they ever had and it's the only time they ever really were like out on top. And it's just so irritating. Like, the wedding in this book was probably the worst wedding I've ever read about, and I would not want to be there at all. For the fact that it was like during a storm off this, like on this island, like in the middle of nowhere, every single person who seemed to be at that wedding just seemed to be a horrible person. And yeah, I just was like, if I was at that I would be trying to swim across back to Ireland to escape it. The atmosphere of this is really good and the timing of it, I found like the slow reveals were really good. It was definitely kind of, in terms of the victim and the culprit, I was kind of going back and forth and guessing. I think the victim was kind of obvious from the start, but it wasn't something that I was really sure of, and then the culprit, definitely I switched back and forth a lot, and I guessed it a little bit, but not like really, and it was still a nice surprise for me. I certainly wasn't bored by the story. I was quite hooked into it. Yeah, I just enjoyed the ride for it, and I enjoyed the book a lot, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I finished was All the Best Lies by Joanna Schaffhausen. This is a book I received in exchange for an honest review from Titan Books, and this is the third book in the Ellery Hathaway series. You can go in and read these books on their own, but I would definitely recommend people starting from The Vanishing Season, which is the first book, because I feel like to really, particularly with this one, to really understand the background between the two main characters in this, Reed and Ellery, who is an FBI profiler and a cop, and the relationship between them and all the things going on in their relationship, and particularly with Ellery, some of the PTSD she is experiencing from things that have happened in her past. I feel like to appreciate that and to really understand it, you would need to read from the first book. But each book in this is following like a different case. And in this one we are actually following a 40-year-old case that is directly connected to one of the main characters, Reed Markham, and it is about his mother, who was brutally murdered when he was 4 months old, and he's gone back to Las Vegas and he's finally reopened this case and has decided to look into it properly. For the first time in like his career as an FBI profiler, he actually thinks he may have an inkling of who could have killed his birth mother, and he is basically on the case now, and Ellery is helping him, and they end up uncovering a lot more, not just to do with his mother's murder, but things to do with the possibly corrupt police force in Las Vegas at the time, and other things that the police are trying to cover up. And yeah, it's quite exciting. I just really love this crime series. I love the two characters. I love the relationship between them, both the fact that it is really awkward and really like there's just something between them. There's something sizzling between them at all times. I never really know whether I want them to be together or if I don't want them to be together, but in this one I think I did want them to be together. I think it was kind of, yeah, I think they were really good for each other. I think the mystery in this one was just really good. I love the fact that in all of these kind of books we're following kind of like one we're following one story and then we're kind of getting all these little bits and pieces about other stories that can go into bigger ones, such as this one. This story kind of started out at the end of the last book, and it came that the end of the last book ended on a cliffhanger, which led into this book. In this book, as I said, we're following kind of the more corrupt police force in Las Vegas at the time, and I have a feeling that that's going to evolve into maybe the 4th or 5th book, possibly. I don't know how many books there's going to be in this series. I hope there's a lot, because I just really enjoy my time reading them. As I said, I love the characters, I love the mysteries, everything I think is just set up really well. A lot of the things are quite believable. In this one, I definitely guessed like who the killer was. I thought it was kind of obvious, but then there was a couple of twists and turns at the very end that I didn't expect, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's all I want in a crime thriller. I just cannot recommend this book series enough. I love it so much. If you're into crime thrillers, if you're into mysteries, please read this series, because it is so good. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I finished was actually an audiobook that I've been listening to the last couple of weeks, and that was House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This is like a YA fantasy slash mystery slash slightly horror-esque book. We are following a girl called Annalie, who is one of 12 sisters, and she lives in this house with her family. They're quite well off. They're living in this fantasy world, but it seems to be very much a I'm not sure, it's kind of like an island, I think, and they worship all these different types of gods, and the gods in this world are actually, like, they exist, they can appear sometimes, they can have children with normal people, almost a little bit like Greek gods. It's very similar to the way Greek gods are portrayed in the myths. The world that is fantasy, there seems to be a tiny bit of magic, gods are real, you know, all that kind of stuff, but there seems to be some sort of curse that has come down upon this family, because I think it's four out of 12 of Annalie's sisters have died in seemingly tragic circumstances. It just seems really weird that they've all died in these like really weird ways. After her last sister's death, she's starting to wonder if there's more to it, if her sisters are being killed off, is there someone out to get them, or is there actually really a curse? I was trying to investigate this, and at the same time all the rest of her sisters are starting to feel really confined in the fact that they've been grieving for so long. They shrug that off, and they end up finding this kind of portal that will bring them to this ball. And they start going there every night, and they kind of become obsessed with the dancing, the ball, and there seems to be something more to that as well. There could be something dark and mysterious there too that's not particularly good for them, but they're obsessed and they keep going back. Annalie is kind of trying to look after her sisters, try and figure out what happened to her dead sisters, and also just figure out what the hell to do with her own life as well. What's going on in this book? It's a hefty book. It was about a 12-hour audiobook, but I really enjoyed it, and particularly an audiobook I thought it was really good as well. It was a very good, solid audiobook read. I just really enjoyed the world in this one. I just thought the fact, and it was explained to us quite slowly. Like they have like their funeral arrangements, and we're hearing kind of about their gods, but I didn't know that in this world the gods were actually like alive and like could appear, and there was like that little bit of magic elements in it. I didn't know that at all, so when that kind of was revealed, I was pleasantly surprised by that, and I kind of liked how that was revealed as well. The relationship between all the sisters, they all seem very much like their own person, and you could kind of remember who they were as well, which I enjoyed. Some of the younger ones, I think there was like one called Mercy and one around the same age as her that I can't quite remember who it was, but I could remember some of the other ones and who they were. There's like the triplets, then they have, I think they call the 3 youngest ones, or the 2 youngest ones, the Graces, and they have kind of names for like the batches of sisters there as well, which was just fun. Yeah, this was just a story that just I felt very invested in, and I can't say there was anything in it that I particularly didn't like. I felt like I was continuously surprised throughout the book, and I was continuously waiting to see what would happen next. I was definitely like on the edge of my seat sometimes, really being afraid that another sister would die as well, because obviously this is a theme that is running through the book, that her sisters are dying, and I didn't want that for the character. I didn't want that for Annalie. I didn't want her to have to go through that grief. So I was definitely kind of hoping that something wouldn't happen to one of her sisters again. So you're kind of on the edge in that sense too. Book a 5 out of 5 stars, even though like but I'm not sure if I will eventually like bring it down to a 4 stars. I just felt like it was better than a 4 stars, but I'm not sure if it's a 4.5 stars. I'm kind of in the mix between, is it a 4.5 stars, is it a 5 stars? I don't know. I might have to think about it for a while. Might be one of those ones. But I do recommend this one a lot, and I also recommend the audiobook because I really enjoyed the audiobook, and I thought it was a really good adaptation of it. The last book I fully finished this week was 7 Days by Alex Lake, that I can only describe as being a book baby between Room by Emma Donoghue and The Lovely Bones by Who wrote The Lovely Bones? I cannot remember. It's gone out of my head. But everyone knows what The Lovely Bones. This is basically about a girl called Maggie who, when she was 15 years old, she was abducted. Like, she's just walking up the street and then she ended up being abducted and put in this like basement by this person who she'd never met before, and now it's been like 12 years and she's been in that basement for 12 years, and in that time she has been sexually assaulted by her captor, and she has born 3 children. Her 2 oldest sons, 2 oldest children, each time they turned 3, her captor came in and took them away and she never saw them again. And now her youngest son Max is about to turn 3. There's a week until his 3rd birthday, and she knows that the time is coming that he's going to be taken away and possibly killed by their captor. She does not know what he does with the children. She doesn't know if he just like lets them go, if he kills them, what he does with them. But she knows that there's a possibility that her son could die, her 3rd son could die, and she is just not ready for that to happen, and she starts trying to plan a way that she can basically save Max's life within the next 7 days. Can she escape? Then within this we end up going kind of flashing back to when she is taken when she's 15 years old, and we kind of follow the story of her dad and her brother, and we're getting their POVs as well throughout the years during her captivity, and how they're living their lives without her, and with that constant cloud over them that she could be somewhere out there, she could be dead, whatever happened to her, that unsolved mystery of her disappearance, and how the both of them kind of deal with that. I just thought this was really, really gripping. I don't know what it is about me, but I really like those kind of captor stories, and when people are taken, and like, yeah, I don't know if that, like, if I'm weird, but like I just really enjoy those stories. I find them really gripping, and to see if the person will escape or not, and like what will happen to them. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I will say I don't think the writing was like the best writing ever. It was kind of quite simple at times, but I think Maggie as a character is just someone you can definitely root for. I did think we find out who took Maggie fairly early on in the book, and I was kind of wondering at that decision by the author is like why is that kind of the mystery of that, like, why are we being told about that so soon? Like, horrible thing about it when you see her captor interacting with her family and kind of integrating himself into her family, and there is that ickiness, and you know what he's done and you know what he's continuing to do to their daughter, and I think that did definitely add a lot to the story, so I can see why the author did that then. It definitely gave me all the ick feelings. Gripping, as I said, I don't think the writing is like anything to write home about, excuse the pun, but I think the story itself was super gripping, which is what you want in a thriller, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Everything I have finished reading this week. Please let me know what you guys have read down below, if you've read any of these books, if you want to read them, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!